Coach's Corner is presented by Roanoke Valley Harley-Davidson. Stop by their store on Peters Creek Road for new and used motorcycles, service and repair, along with Harley-Davidson clothing and collectibles.
Hello and welcome in to another episode of Coach's Corner. I'm Mitch Stewart, and this morning I'm joined by Dawgs assistant coach Jeff Jones. Jeff, thanks for taking the time.
Thanks for having me. Been waiting a long time for this opportunity.
Yeah, big call up for you here on Coach's Corner, and it's going to be a big weekend for the Dawgs. You guys end up going down to Macon for 3 games on the road, and of course head coach Dan Bremner will be unavailable on Friday, serving a suspension from the SPHL. That means you're going to be assuming that role of head coach for Friday night's game. What has that preparation been like between you and Dan this week to make sure that you're ready to go on Friday? What are some of those conversations that you guys have had to make sure, again, that you guys can go out and still get a good result on Friday, even if he's not available?
Yeah, I don't think a whole lot has changed. A little bit more responsibility maybe this week, just being a little bit more involved in some of the decisions. But at the end of the day, it's still his team, and players, they're not going to change the way they play just because the assistant's coaching. We're going to still have the same game plan and try to execute the same things that Dan preaches. So yeah, there shouldn't be too much change in style of play.
Well, Jeff, excellent debut here on Coach's Corner. I think that we're going to see many more from you, but I think we could probably welcome Dan back in after serving his 1-question suspension here on Coach's Corner. What do you think?
Yeah, he can go back in the hot seat.
I'm Mitch Stewart, and this morning I'm joined by Rail Yard Dawgs head coach Dan Bremner. Dan, thanks for joining me.
Of course.
A really long weekend of games. It starts here at home on Friday and Saturday with the Peoria Rivermen. You guys are able to get 3 points out of 4 in what was a bit of a chaotic weekend. We'll explore that a little bit more later on. But you also have to end up going on the road to Knoxville on Sunday. Just take us through what you're able to see from those games as far as the performance on the ice across those 3 games as the Dawgs do end up getting 3 points on the weekend.
Well, first, love playing Peoria. I wish we played them more. I know it's hard to say because they're always pretty high in the standings, but they're disciplined. They know their routes and they play within a system. Super well coached every year. They play hard and they're difficult to play against. It elevates our game. I thought the Friday game, both sides were just a little sleepier than usual. It was just kind of like there wasn't a lot of contact. There weren't a ton of chances at the net, really. It was kind of just like a neutral zone up and down the ice. Obviously got edged out on that one, and I think if we came with the intensity we had Saturday in the first game, probably a totally different result. Saturday, obviously, a bit of chaos, some things you don't like to see, but I was really proud of our group, the way they rallied, from the coaching staff taking over on the bench to our players that were playing shorthanded, short-bodied. And really leading the way for us. So I thought it was a really big team building win on Saturday night. And then Knoxville, with the SPHL schedule and what we see this year, we're going into a team that didn't play at home Friday, didn't play at all on Saturday. We have an absolute war Saturday night, and then we have to travel 4 hours to them. Yeah, decent first period, and you could just see our we were exhausted mentally, physically. We were exhausted, and once we got a little sloppy, and they got the lead going into the third. It was a tough hill to battle back from.
On Saturday night, it became pretty apparent that Peoria was pretty interested in maybe targeting Joe Whitmore, a former Riverman himself, early on in that game. Take us through just kind of your emotions. Obviously, you're having words down on the bench during that altercation, the last time that they had gone after him through Braden Barker. And take us through maybe what was going through your head. And then also on the flip side of that, Joe ends up with 3 points on the night. Maybe just talk a bit about his mental fortitude and being able to hunker down and still have a great performance.
First, Joe's just a beast. He's a pro. He trains all year so hard. He puts a ton of pressure on himself. And then when it comes to the extra stuff, I'm all for the stuff that's within the game. That initial scrum I thought was relatively even-sided. It sparked up a couple times, but I don't think we didn't have anybody that was lopsided, beaten down on somebody that was a lesser physical player. Obviously, Peoria saw it differently. They saw something that I don't think anybody else in the world saw, that their captain was getting jumped, which I don't see it. And then he sends guys out there to injure our players, and not always happy with the way I react to it with that fire, but Knoxville a couple years ago when our players are targeted to be injured, I get defensive and hate to see it. I know how much time and effort and passion these guys have for the game, to get injured in a way like that is just it's uncalled for. So got heated. Like I said, pumped how the guys rallied after I was ejected from the game, that we lost bodies. We had some guys that were banged up, but they really rallied.
You and Bryce Martin will not be available on Friday night's game this week, and Bryce will also miss Saturday night's game. But that means assistant coach Jeff Jones will be assuming your role behind the bench on Friday night. What is some of that preparation like for him as you just try to make sure that he's all squared away and good to go for Friday night when you guys go to take on Macon for the first out of 3 on the road?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for him is to, he's going to be on the road, so we're not going to have DeVito, we're not going to have Ian on the bench. So it's going to be him manning both sides, and I think what we'll be talking about is a lot of preparation where, we got a pretty veteran D-core guys that have been around, been here for us, where they're going to kind of manage themselves a lot as far as ice time, where Jones can kind of focus on the front end. And then I hope he has fun. It's a cool experience. You don't know how it feels on the bench until you are in that situation and you're the guy, the only guy calling it out. So I'm excited for him. I hope he has a great experience, and I'll be intently watching.
I know that you don't like to miss any games. You've only missed one up to this point that I can remember in your career, and the team rallied around Nick DeVito and got a win on the road. So hopefully they can do that again this Friday. You guys are now 10 games into the season, and I know 3-5-2 may not be where you want to be as far as when you look at your record and you look at the standings, but what do you feel like you've learned from your group now that you're 10 games into the season? What are maybe some of those big focal points for you guys as you guys continue to try to find some consistency and improve throughout the slate of games?
You said it, consistency. We've shown sparks in every game of Dawgs hockey where in a period we're putting on 25 shot attempts, we're getting 20 on net, we're banging 2 of those in, and a bit of that greasy, gritty hockey around the net. But it hasn't been 60 minutes, or there haven't been enough efforts that have been 60 minutes. Get away from it. We've had periods with 7 shot attempts, and it's just, we have to find a way, win or lose, to stay that process. Put up 45, 50 shots. And if you lose in those moments, it might be some bounces coming the other way, it might be calls the other way. If we stay consistent with that, we'll win much more than we're going to lose. Our group has to buy in and accept that is the process. That's going to win. And regardless if it takes 5 games for us to start getting there, we have to stay the process.
I know that you guys try to keep your focus on you and what you can control within your own room, but the last question for you is, you do get your first 3 games of the season here against Macon. They've only dropped 2 in regulation out of their first 7 games. What have you seen from them, maybe just in your scouting this week, heading into these 3 games on the road down in Georgia?
Yeah, they're a hard-working team that has talent scattered throughout. With Koldowski, a very high-level player, a pretty solid D. They shut down, they can shoot. Again, and you said it, we're focused on us. It's about us having that process for 60 minutes. So we'll talk about tendencies going in against Macon, little things that maybe we can exploit on the power play. But at the end of the day, we need our guys bought into that 60-minute effort. So we're looking for games where there is tons of shots, there is tons of traffic at the net. We hound rebounds, we get it again, load it high, and we shoot again, and we rinse and repeat. And it's fun hockey to watch. It's fun hockey to be a part of. This is the weekend. We're really looking for these guys to buy into it.
Well, Dan, best of luck to you here this weekend on the road. Go get them.
Thanks, Mitch.
That's going to do it for this episode of Coach's Corner. The Rail Yard Dogs on the road for 3 against the Macon Mayhem, but they're right back here in the Star City next Wednesday and Friday. Knoxville here on Wednesday for Friendsgiving. That's also the Fall Food Drive game sponsored by Kroger. And then Friday night, Lilo and Stitch Jersey night as the Dogs host the Fayetteville Marksmen. Those games flanking Thanksgiving next week. We thank you so much for tuning into this episode today. We hope you have a great rest of your day.